let's dive right in with a question pretty much all of us have asked ourselves at some point. Am I attractive? Well, today we're going on a little psychological journey to find the answer, but we're not going to do it by looking in a mirror. Instead, we're going to explore the hidden science of what makes someone an invisible star.
Seriously, think about it. Are you more attractive than you think? Because if you're anything like most people, you probably catch your reflection and your eyes just zoom right in on the flaws. Behavioral psychology actually tells us that our own self-perception, well, it's often way off. So today we're digging into the real scientific signs that you might be far more compelling than you ever give yourself credit for.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at your brain's built-in blind spot and why it's basically designed to be your own worst critic. Then, we'll learn to decode the secret unspoken language of attraction that's happening all around you. We'll see how perception literally shapes your reality, discover some genuinely surprising, almost counterintuitive clues, and then finally, I'm going to tell you where to find your new mirror.
Okay, let's kick things off with the single biggest reason it's so hard to see yourself clearly. And that obstacle, it's your own brain. The reason you might not recognize your own appeal often comes down to this really powerful psychological bias that puts you under a kind of imaginary microscope. And it has a name. It's called the spotlight effect. You know that feeling, right? It's like there's a giant, super harsh spotlight following you around, and it's aimed at every single tiny flaw. A bad hair day, a stain on your shirt, that time you tripped over nothing. We feel like everyone is watching, and more than that everyone is judging. But are they really? So check this out. There's this classic experiment that really puts this to the test. A psychologist had students wear what they thought was a super embarrassing Barry Manilow t-shirt into a room of their friends. They predicted that half the people in the room, 50%, would notice the shirt. But the reality? Only about 20% actually did. That is a massive difference between what we think people see and what they actually see.
And here's the bottom line. That intense, critical spotlight you feel shining on you, it's just not real. The truth is, most people are way too busy worrying about their own lives and their own imaginary spotlights to pay that much attention to yours.
Okay, so if we can't trust our own judgment, where do we look for the truth? Well, the answer is in the subtle, unspoken behaviors of the people around us. Think of these as real-world data points that cut right through all of our internal noise. Let's get into it. So the very first sign to start looking for is something called the chameleon effect. This is our brain's automatic subconscious habit of mimicking the body language of people we're drawn to. It's this deep, primal signal of connection. Without even thinking about it, we're trying to say, hey, I get you, we're in sync.
And here's exactly what to watch for. Have you ever been talking to someone and you notice they lean in right when you do? Or maybe they start using a hand gesture that you always use, or even start talking at the same speed as you. These are not just weird coincidences. They are basically subconscious compliments, little green flags telling you there's a real rapport there.
Now, sign number 2 is all in the eyes. And we're not talking about some creepy stare down here. We're talking about a gaze that just holds on for a fraction of a second longer than it needs to. It's that tiny, tiny little pause before they look away that tells you your presence has really, truly captured their attention. And get this, where they look actually matters. A 2014 study found a really interesting difference. When someone's eyes are mostly focused on your face, it's connected to feelings of deeper attraction, maybe even the sparks of real connection. But if their gaze is focused more on the body, that tends to signal a more initial, physical kind of interest. So yeah, the focus of the gaze tells a story.
All right, let's get into a really wild idea. The fact that other people's perception of you doesn't just sit there, it actively changes how they interact with you, and it can even shape the world around you.
This is all because of something called the halo effect. You can think of it as a mental shortcut our brains love to take. When we see someone as physically attractive, we just automatically assume they have a bunch of other great qualities too. We think they must also be kinder, smarter, more successful. Their looks create this halo that makes us see everything else about them in a more positive light. So how does this actually play out in real life? Well, think about it. Do people at the coffee shop just seem a little bit nicer to you? Do strangers seem quick to forgive you if you accidentally bump into them? That little bit of extra grace you get? That could very well be the halo effect in action. Which leads us perfectly into sign number 6, which is a bit more subtle but super powerful. When people give you compliments about your energy or your vibe, or they just say you have a certain warmth, you should really pay attention. That's them reacting to the whole package, the total experience of you, not just one physical feature. It's a huge sign that your halo is shining pretty brightly.
Okay, now we're getting to my favorite part, the really counterintuitive stuff. Some of the biggest signs that people find you attractive can actually feel kind of negative or confusing at first, but they are incredibly telling. Let's talk about sign number 4. Has anyone ever told you that you're intimidating, or maybe that you seem hard to approach? It's so easy to hear that and think it's a bad thing, but so often what that really means is, I found you so attractive that I got nervous and I had no idea what to say. In fact, being highly attractive can sometimes mean you get approached less because people just assume you're completely out of their league. And this next one might be the wildest finding of all. Research from the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology found this totally backward relationship. It turns out the people who were objectively rated as the most attractive, they tended to underestimate their own looks. Meanwhile, those rated as least attractive were more likely to overestimate their appeal. So what does that mean? It means if you just feel kind of average, there's a decent statistical chance you're actually more attractive than you think. And our final sign is all about what we could call social chemistry. You see, we instinctively laugh more easily and more often with people we're drawn to. So if you notice that your little off-the-cuff comments or silly jokes seem to get big laughs, that's a great sign. It means your presence has already put people in a good mood. But this brings me to a very modern warning label we need to add, and it's about AI beauty filters. So a recent 2024 study discovered something they called the saturation effect. They found that while AI filters can make someone seem more attractive up to a certain point, once they create this look of digital perfection, they actually start to backfire. People subconsciously stop connecting that flawless image with other good traits like being smart or trustworthy. In other words, the halo starts to flicker and fade.
So we've gone through all these different signs, the spotlight effect, the chameleon effect, the halo effect. What is the big takeaway here? I think it's that it is time to put down the mirror that only ever shows us our flaws and learn to look into a new one instead. And this is really the most important point of all. Your truest reflection isn't in a piece of glass. It's in the way people behave around you. It's in the mirroring, the lingering glances, the extra grace they give you. You know, a mirror just captures static geometry, but people respond to the dynamic, living, breathing experience of being with you. That is your new mirror.
And before we finish, there's one really important thing to mention. Look, it's normal to be self-critical sometimes, but if you find that thoughts about your appearance are causing you constant, deep distress, it might be a sign of something more serious, like body dysmorphic disorder. That's a real and treatable condition, and getting professional support can make a huge difference. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out for help.
So I'll leave you with one final question to think about. Looking back at your own life, your own interactions, which of these subtle, unspoken signs have you actually seen? You might be genuinely